Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Boulder. Welcome to both people here who are live in person in our sanctuary and those watching us at home on live stream. We're so glad to have you with us. My name is Mike Shadle. I'm the administrator here at the church. If you ever have any questions or anything like that, my office is right over there in the bookstore. Is there anyone here attending Unity of Boulder for the first time at all? Oh, right here. Keep your hands up. Our ushers have a special gift. They're coming down to you right now. Is there anyone else here? Oh, we got another one right here, Sylvia. Forward on your right. Thank you very much. Is anyone here? Oh, wait. Are you new for the first time over here, too? Oh, sorry. I just wanted to put you on the spot, just for fun. Is there anyone here who's here from another Unity? All right. Well, check out other Unities too. They're all awesome. So I got a few quick announcements. Next week is our big Welcome Back Sunday services. We're going to be going back to two services. There'll be a 9 a.m. service and an 11 a.m. service. The 9 a.m. will go back to being in the meditative format led by Jack and Norma. And the 11 a.m. will be service just like this one, and our celebration service led by Santisha. But Welcome Back Sunday is also the Sunday where we ask everyone who's been on summer vacations and such to come on back. It's also the official beginning of our Sunday school program downstairs. That's kids from 0 to 10. And then it also is the beginning of our 11 to 18-year-old youth programs. That's our Uniteens and our YOU downstairs. And to celebrate, we're going to have a potluck following the 11 o'clock service. We're going to have barbecue. We're going to have a jumpy castle for the kids. Jack will be blessing your pets, so if you want to go home, grab your pet and bring it. You can get it blessed by Jack. It's a really neat ceremony. It's really fun. It's fun to see everyone's pets. And you got to register for that in the bookstore beforehand, and it's $15. So just see Heather after the service if you're interested in bringing your pet in. Now let's see what else here. We also need volunteers in a variety of spots around the church. We really lost a lot of volunteers in this last year for obvious reasons. So if you're interested in volunteering for anything, please see Heather in the bookstore. She can tell you everything we need and maybe help find a good spot for you. But also we're sending around pass-around sheets right now for volunteers for if anyone wants to help out with our Sunday school. We could use some teachers and some helpers down there, and we could also use some teachers for our Uniteens program downstairs. That's our middle school age members. So come see any of us on the staff if you're interested in any of those, or sign up on the pass-around sheet that's going around. A really fun way you could volunteer and help out is by trying out our choir. Our choir is going to perform next week at Welcome Back Sunday, and we're going to have a rehearsal for that this Thursday night at 6:30. You don't even have to sign up. All you have to do is show right on up and say, hey, I want to sing. You don't have to be a professional singer. We're looking for everyone. And you don't have to be a soloist. The bigger the choir, the better. So if you're interested in that, please just show up Thursday at 6:30. And to those of you who have been a little hesitant about coming back, I just want to let you know a little bit about what we do to sterilize this building before every service. That's our Wednesday night services, these services, any classes we take. We clean everything with all sorts of different sterilizers and cleaners, and we even this room, fellowship hall, and a few of the rooms downstairs, the rooms our kids are in, we sterilize with heavy-duty UV lights that it kills everything. So we just wanted to let everyone know that it is safe to come on back. We'd love to have everyone in person. And next week in Welcome Back Sunday is a fantastic week to bring someone who you've always kind of been like, I'd like to invite this person. This would be a great time for them to check it out. All right, thank you very much.
Imagine. Is it an old song? Do you think it's an old song? They picked that song for the opening of the Olympics, and you're going to get to sing it now. So I want you to stand up and feel like those kids, those young people that were doing the Olympics, and sing it with all your heart. Here we go.
While you're all standing, which I know I was a little late, but while you're all standing, turn and meet one another. Say hello. Meet someone new. You don't have to shake hands. You don't have to hug, but it's just nice to say hi to each other. Hello, Todd. She's all yours.
Thanks. And pat yourselves on the back and say, "Thank you, God, for me." We're a lot nicer to others when we really love ourselves and recognize that we are the presence of spirit in action for others and ourselves. recognizing that every face in this room are the many faces of God. Right? Like, your faces are God. I haven't been here for a few weeks and I've missed your faces, that's for sure. If you guys wouldn't mind turning the lights on, I actually want to see their faces, and I'm having a hard time because I'm being blinded just a touch. So let's just close our eyes and get into the presence of this room, into this sacred, holy space, and recognize that we can leave the limitations of the world outside of these doors and bless ourselves with this message over the next 45 minutes to deeply connect you to this greater power of love, this potential of love that we call God, Spirit, Source. Whatever word makes you feel connected to this divine potential and love. And Spirit, we open ourselves up today. We're expecting an answer and a miracle to whatever thing is giving us angst or stress. We're open and receptive in this moment to realize that heaven is in the very midst of us in this moment. Every answer, every need, every want is already being fulfilled without us even asking, because we're remembering that we are the divine children of God, made in the image and likeness of God. And so our potentiality is limitless for healing, for loving, for forgiving, for being that which God made us to be. And to this we say, Amen. If you don't know who I am, I'm Santisha Groverland. I'm the spiritual leader here at Unity of Boulder, and I share this platform with Jack Groverland, who's Minister Emeritus, my father. And today my talk is The Kingdom of Heaven is at Hand. And I came up with this talk witnessing on vacation, or being reminded of the flow of life and actually the enjoyment of life. You know, we get so caught up in work and the busyness of this world, and if we're tuning into the TV, we're getting distracted by all of the discord that's going on in this world, and it's easy to get lost in that. It's easy to get lost in this current of the world that's speeding up, and it's creating more and more friction and more separation, and it really reminds us that we have to remember, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is at hand, or also said kingdom of heaven is in the very midst of you. But when we are looking to the world and looking outside of ourselves for the answers to which the things are in discord, if you're one of these people that want to be vaccinated, or you don't want to be vaccinated, or you don't want to be told by the government what you can and cannot do with your bodies, or you feel like people are being irresponsible because they aren't making the choices that you believe is right for your personal experience in this world, we're signing up with the separation of this world. Because we are divine children of God who have a direct connection to that which is the power through our own understanding. And when we know thyself, we know thy own body. We know what is right for us personally. We don't know what's right for another person's experience. It's like the Native Americans say, you have to walk a mile in someone else's moccasins to understand why people make the decisions that they do. But there's so much turmoil in this world right now because we've decided that we are right in our own dictates and demands of our own experience and from what our moccasin walk has been. And it's creating a lot of disease, and it's creating a lot of separation where we already were separate from each other over the last year due to the COVID. And we're trying to find in unity, how do we come back to unity? How do we come back to the oneness and recognizing that we can accept each other and love our neighbor as ourselves, regardless of what their belief system is versus our own? Maybe other people's belief systems are none of your business. Have you ever thought about that? Because when you really look in the Bible, it's so often always pointing back to us in our own relationship with our own understanding to create this heaven in the very midst of us. We don't discover heaven in the midst of us while we're pointing at everybody else that they're doing something that's not in alignment of your own dictates and demands. And so we are operating from a state of ego and judgment. Instead of operating from the place that's feeling oppressed and needing to judge, instead of believing in your own truth and being the essence of a person that lives in their own truth, which is a powerful person, who is the isness vibrationally, it's contagious because it's based in truth, which is based in beauty, which is based in love, which is based in acceptance of thyself. And when we accept ourselves, we let other people accept themselves for who they are. How many conflicts in life, in family, in marriages, in relationships with parents and children come down to this very issue that we believe we know better for others than ourselves? So much of the turmoil that we see in our lives is that exact issue. Instead of stepping back and going, okay, if this is all for me, for our growth, as Edgar Cayce says, or said, we are here to either learn in a lifetime as a soul to grow and become better, and then we die and we come back as that better and we grow again, and sometimes we go backwards. And backwards means we go into alcoholism, drug abuse, bad behavior, yelling and judging and telling people what to do and be. Because a spiritual virtue is to know thyself, to love thyself, and to treat your neighbor as yourself. Let's sit with that. Let's sit with that and consider the areas in your life where you may not be doing this correctly, where we're looking at self first and then the flow outwards. Looking at ourselves first and the flow outwards. Do you remember the moment in your life when you realized you were one with everyone and everything? So I only have 5 people that have experienced that moment where you realized you were one with everyone and everything. It's a really lonely place to not recognize that beauty. Okay, well, have you had an experience where you've been in nature and observed an animal coming much closer to you than they normally do, and you realized you were part of that beauty? Who's had that experience? Okay, so that's easier. So it's the people that we have a hard time with. The people just are like, ugh. I understand. I've met some frustrating people in my lifetime, trust. So when you realize that connection, say with a deer or a squirrel or something like that, which my oldest daughter right now is having an interaction with a squirrel that keeps showing up at her work, and it keeps trying to sneak in, and it's stealing nuts and just cute. And she was telling me about this on the phone the other day, and then she and I were on a walk just in nature, and we were crossing a bridge, and this squirrel ran so fast at us, it looked like it was going to jump on us, and then jumped to this tree that was just beyond this river. I mean, it could have fallen. It was crazy. And I was like, have you looked up the squirrel totem? Because there's something in this animal right now that has a message for you. Because I've never had a squirrel do something like that, and it was just really bizarre that she just talked to me on the phone about that, and then that happened, and she looked it up, and it was right on with where she is in her development right now. right on with what she's looking into as far as her spirit and all of that. So when you feel one with everyone and everything, you realize that there's an unseen energy that connects you to all of it. And it's hard to believe, if you guys are meditating people, that you haven't had like a spurt of something where you get it. There's just a download of oneness. And in that moment, when you realize that you're connected to everything, something happens. Something really beautiful happens in that moment. There is a sense of belonging. There's no more fighting back at the current of the world or trying to make the world fit into what you were told the world was supposed to be. You realize that you're a divine conduit of God's love. And you feel good because you feel God. You feel good because you feel God. You, for maybe one moment, were standing in your wholeness. Wholeness. Sometimes I just use that word when I'm feeling anxious in this world, or I'm not able to sleep, or I'm feeling out of control. I think a lot of us feel out of control with what the future looks like and what is it going to look like for our children. And we can get caught up with what the world's going to be out down the road, and then that's a really, really, really scary place to go. So if we're vibration and we're energy, and obviously our planet needs a lot of attention right now, and consciousness needs a lot of attention, the only thing you can really change is your own. And when we're looking down here trying to figure out how we're going to change the entire future for our children and everything else, we can get very, very overwhelmed because we realize we're just this one body being trying to tackle all of the angst and the hurt of this world. But there's another way to look at it. When you realize that you are a divine being before the human being, you've been a divine soul developing so many lifetimes preparing for this very moment. There is no coincidence that you showed up at this very time with the development that you got from whatever parents, whatever mentors, whatever professors, whatever sets you up to be who you are in this world is needed. It's a key piece to the answer of what's being asked for healing. And so don't burden yourself that you have to change the entire world by yourself. But recognize that the very vibration that you are adds unto that vibration that does heal the future. You being aware and still and knowing what you are contributing vibrationally to this planet and this world. That's what you're responsible for. And when you're in a really bad mood and you're feeling really out of control with everything that's going on, then go get quiet. Don't get everybody's ear and try to bring them down to your lower vibrational levels, but be with self. Recognize the limited part in you that doesn't believe that miracles happen, or the limited part in you that doesn't believe that God is actually real. That this almighty power that moves in and through every aspect of our life has only been cut off by your life by you. Only by you. This consistent, loving energy that's divinely directing every aspect of our life is moving in and through your life all the time if you will allow it. It's a state of being. It's a state of wholeness and recognizing your divinity with this greater power of love. So when we get into one of those moments of emergence with the fountain of the eternal life, the source and center of it all, and in this awareness, everything is well and right and harmonious. And then we sit there and we think, oh, to be able to bask in that presence again. Much of us say that while we are facing one of the most turbulent times in history. I want to bask in that again. We get that experience, and all we want to do is stay there, but for some reason, the default goes back to fear and anxiety and all the panicking around what this is doing. But there's a divine purpose. The divine essence is the midst of the greatest balancing act in our lives right now. The divine purpose is about the fall away of the things that no longer serve our consciousness, our bodies, our beings. And as we cleanse this whole vessel, the mind, body, and the spirit, we become more Christ-like. We become more like Mother Earth's wisdom. And we're divinely guided to be where we need to be, to say what we need to say, and to hear what we need to hear. To live in this favor. This divine favor isn't something you earned. This divine favor you were born with. But you cut yourself off from it by affirmations of negativity that told you you were less than perfect, or you were less than lovable, you were less than beautiful. And when we get these currents of affirmations, they start to untell us about our direct connection with this greater power of love. And then it makes us hard, and it makes us angry, and it makes us act in a way that we know we're not. So, this divine moment where we recognize that we're one with everyone and everything, that is the goal. And not just recognizing it in intellect, but knowing it. If you truly believed that, how would you go forward in your days? How would you show up in your life? I experienced this moment happening in my son's life, who is 15 years old, 2 weeks ago, when he attended the Youth of Unity rally in Fort Worth, which is YOU, which is for the teenagers, ages 14 to 18. And because of COVID, there were no rallies, but they have their meeting every week downstairs, and it's a total loving, and it's connected, and that was the one thing he had all year, was YOU, to be able to go there even if they had to wear masks or not, or they did it online. With school being out all last year, that was his connection, was being with other teenagers his age that speaks this language of this greater power of love expanding and growing in them, so that they're learning that even with this COVID thing that none of us experienced at an age like that even this is part of a divine potential and a birthing. It's a falling away of something that was not serving this world anymore, for us to regain the consciousness that we need to become, to overcome the mountain ahead of us. So my son packed up in a van 2 weeks ago, and I saw all the kids off, and we saged the van and prayed together and got them ready to go. And I found myself extra anxious about him being in a car for that long away from me, because he's been with me so much. You know, during COVID, we've gotten a lot more time with our teenagers or children. And I knew that he was leaving to have the experience of his lifetime, because my first YOU rally when I was 16 changed my life. I knew so much better where I was going to go in my life from that week with other teenagers. Because in our school system, even in the private school system, there's not a cultivation of a spiritual life, a spiritual independency and understanding that there's this greater power in their life that will hold them, that will guide them when they leave for college, that they don't need their mom and dad and everybody else to do things for them, but there is these answers that live within them. And they're constantly getting mirrored back this energy so that they become powerful beings in this world. They become the conduit. They become leaders in helping other people understand this wisdom within themselves. So he went on the trip, and our head of our Sunday school, her son went on the trip, and we had 6 other children that went on the trip, and Melinda Malik, who heads our YOU, is just unbelievable, the dedication that she gives to take these kids on these trips. And I talked to my son the first night that he'd been there. They'd been there for like a day before, but when it actually started, the rally. And they have something called spirit sharing. And this is a moment where they can feel almost like an ecstatic moment where they feel like sharing something that they have as their own special gift that God gave them. And my son has the gift of playing the guitar and singing. And he discovered that during COVID. He picked up a guitar and he taught himself fluidly how to play that guitar, and he started singing. He is from a family that all plays instruments and singing. I get that, but I don't know how to play the guitar, and I wasn't able to teach him. And he had told me, because I tried to get him to take his guitar, and he's like, I'm not taking the guitar. You know, like everything's just like, don't listen to mom about anything. Well, it turns out, of course, he's at a church, so there was a guitar available. And they got Tyler to sing a song at the rally. And Melinda, who's the head of the YOU, snuck her phone to film him playing for all those teenagers. And the boy that I was looking at playing was already transformed from the one that had already left here. From being around his peers, speaking this language of love. Being reminded that it's not dorky or woo-woo or strange to have this deep faith in this greater wisdom, that it's beautiful and that it's powerful and it's promoted to share in this love. So when he returned, he got back, and right away he had to get in my car, and we were heading for Taos on our family vacation. So he had that long drive back, hop into my van, and then head to Taos. And he starts talking about how in his childhood, growing up in the Sunday school here, he had already learned the tools of meditation and prayer, affirmations, visualizing the circumstances that he'd like to create in his life, and then actually manifesting and seeing that that works. He's learned about the law of attraction since he was a young boy. But he never really realized that he could have a core group of people that he could share that with. You know, because it's transient Sunday school. You have new kids, and some come, some leave. So you get the trust, you lose the trust. You get the trust. But in this core, these were all the kids that have grown up from the very beginning and had this outpicturing together of this spiritual love. He sat down next to me while Mike was driving, and I noticed that his lip was quivering. And I sat there, and he couldn't get the words to tell me the full grasp of what he wanted to share about that experience. And I waited, and I stayed quiet. And at one point I said, Ty, I know exactly where you are right now. You understand that you're divinely connected to everything, everyone. Every aspect of this life is a divine experience. And you finally got it mirrored back to you by your peers, by your friends. And all you want to do is be surrounded in that now. That community is now in your heart. You will seek out a community like this in your adult years because you now understand the preciousness of that. So whenever you're lost, Ty, when you go to college, you're ever feeling badly about life, you go find that community. You call these friends, because I'm still friends with my friends that I was in YOU with. They're my core girls. They're amazing. You have a bad day, you're having a hard time, you have a terrible loss in your life, you have them to call and go, I'm losing my faith, I'm losing my hold. And they're right there, mirroring the 16-year-old version of yourself, the 20-year-old version of yourself, the 30-year-old versions of yourself, and I'll just stop there because it stops there. I saw this piece of work. I'm reading a book called The Mystical Ark, and it's a wonderful book written about an archaeologist, discovering some wonderful spiritual relic way back when, and she shared what it was like to open and get to this relic and be the very first one after 12 years of preparing to see it. And she wrote this. Or they wrote about her experience. Elena had been amazed to learn that other people did not see these patterns of light around each other. She'd always had this intuition where she saw light around people since she was little. Who had that, where you saw auras or light around people when you were young? Yeah, so we have about 7. And I had that too, right? And you might have little glimpses of it. Or you heard those chords, like the harmonic chord sounds with certain people when you talk to them when you're little. I don't know. Anyway, you're more in tune with the veil being thin to the spiritual realm and the human realm when we're little until we're talked out of this powerful energy that we are. Elena had been amazed to learn that other people did not see these patterns of light around each other. Didn't everyone see them? After several trips to an eye specialist, followed by several visits to a community counseling service, the visions began to fade. Elena trained her eyes to ignore them until she completely forgot their presence. Until a spiritual experience took her over. Moisture welled up in Elena's eyes as she realized she had always known that people were really made of light, and that it emanated visibly from the earthly bodies they inhabited. Tears spilled over her lower lids and ran down her cheeks. She had always known, but had forgotten. Something about this relic, and working so hard to dig it up, somehow brought her connection to her ancestors, to everyone and everything, and realized she is just a part of this greater whole. And so it's strange things like that. We don't know when it's going to happen. Some people have it when they've given birth to their children. A sense of having a baby, and for some reason you just really know this baby more than you really would know the baby. Like for my son, I really appreciate the idea of this woman seeing these lights and her undoing it, because you could be called all sorts of maybe mentally ill issues as a child, so people hide that they have these abilities. For my son, when he was young, he would have night terrors. And when I get him in the middle of the night and try to wake him up, he would look at me like so startled, and he'd say, "I want my mom, I want my mom." And I'd be like, "I am your mom." And he'd say, "No, I want my other mom." Which was not weird to me, because I grew up in the Edgar Cayce work. My middle name is Casey after Edgar Cayce's work. So of course I would be shown these different levels of how our souls travel. And I'm supposed to be his mother this time, but there's still something to be healed about the relationship with his mom from another lifetime. But now when I ask him about it, he doesn't remember. But I have so many witnesses. My parents witnessed it. My ex-husband witnessed it. When you look through a lens that everything is of the spiritual, you see it. When you look through the lens of the intellect and try to make everything be scientific and fact, you won't see it. You have to believe it to see it. Jesus uses the term heaven as a present potential rather than a future place. He said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is always within the creation, as the oak tree is always in the acorn. The whole is always in the part. The divine being that you can be is always a potential within the struggling human being that you may be right now. Something very beautiful happens to people when the world has fallen apart. A humility, a nobility, a higher intelligence emerges at just the point when our knees hit the floor. Marianne Williamson wrote that. Something very beautiful happens to people when the world has fallen apart. A humility, a nobility, a higher intelligence emerges at just the point when our knees hit the floor. How many people have felt that way from this last year of isolation? That you almost came to your knees hitting the floor with the stress that it's caused in your life? Okay, well, now we're seeing a lot of hands. I like the interaction, it's helpful. Right. Absolutely. Like, if it was something that was not healed in our life, it was going to come up during this phase. Was that not? I mean, that has been my experience. If there's anything that was not healed in my life, it was like, and when this was finally healed, then this one showed up, and it was just like, and you know what they say is you just got to laugh, because you could cry your eyes out all day. We got to find our humor. We have to recognize that the universe has a sense of humor too, and apparently the universe only never gives you more than what you can handle. Right? But we handled it. So maybe that's true. Maybe it's the discovering the power that lives within us. So we ask ourselves, why did we originally know that we were one with everything? See, we talk about this in Unity. We talk about the generation, which is the birth into the world, right? We come in directly from Spirit, knowing our direct connection with this greater power, this greater love, and that we're made in the image and likeness of God. But then there's the process of the degeneration, and that's what all the Bible stories, you can always do this metaphysically. You can do the story from the generation, then you watch the degeneration of a person, and then you watch the regeneration process. We're in the regeneration right now. The degeneration was probably around 20, 25, when you got your heart broken, or maybe childhood if you had a parent that was not there to be a great parent, or whatever made you feel less than directly connected to God. That's the degeneration. Then we hit things like COVID, and we're reevaluating what is important for my soul's journey, what is important for the consciousness on this planet, what is important. And I think we all got to the same answer. And it's the same answer that I hear from people on their deathbeds before they're supposed to leave. The only thing that is important is your family, your friends, and the love that you've experienced here, and the impact you have made. That's the things I hear from every person that's about to cross over from being here. Everything else, all of the prizes, all of the money that you made, or the houses you built, or none of that matters in the last hour of life. And that's kind of where we've all been sitting, because we don't know where this is going. Where's it going? Where's it going? Where is it going? When is the second coming of Jesus coming, man? I'm kidding, of course, because we know that's silly. Because the second coming of Jesus Christ is us. The developed version of ourselves showing up in mastery. We do not walk by the trash anymore and say that's somebody else's job. We do not put garbage in our body and knowing that there's pesticides and all these things and not love thy vessel as the conduit to bring in action. We watch what we eat. We watch what we say. We watch what we listen to. And we watch what we share. Do I want to be a conduit of love? Then maybe this bad mood I'm in, I'm not going to let everybody else know why. And I'm going to do a little inner research. I need to know thyself a little deeper. Only in quiet waters do things mirror themselves undistorted. Only in a quiet mind is an adequate perception of the world. Only in quiet waters do things mirror themselves undistorted. Only in a quiet mind is an adequate perception of the world. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. So Jesus advises, forget about the speck of weakness or limitation you can find in the other fella. Get busy changing your own level of consciousness. This might help us to understand his declaration, which says, I, if be lifted up from the earth, will draw all people unto me. I, if be lifted up from the earth, will draw all people unto me, in John 12:32. If you are to be lifted out of the consciousness of the world and connect with a higher state, the higher self, the indwelling Christ within yourself, then shall you see and know God as the potentiality within you. So the metaphysical meaning of the world, which is a metaphysical Bible dictionary, which I talked to you guys about, that our co-founder Charles Fillmore wrote, taking words from the Bible to break it down for us to understand what the world means. Metaphysical meaning of the world, a state of consciousness formed through the belief in the reality of things external. It leads one to follow standards of living based on man's opinions rather than on truth. The world is overcome by our denying that it has any power over us and affirming freedom in Christ consciousness within ourselves. So, as an overview before we leave this talk today, taking that time to meditate in that stillness, where the world becomes unfragmented and you become one with everything and everyone. That's sitting on the planet, earthing and walking on this planet with no shoes on. If you ever have anxiety, that's the best thing to do. Just go and take your shoes off and go walk in some grass. Get into nature. Watch how your mood will completely change. Mother Earth is here to be a remedy of this love. We have so many ways to naturally come back to our wholeness, our happiness, our peace in consciousness and love. We have young living oils. We have all sorts of box therapy for the rescue remedy if you're in anxiety all the time. We carry all these things. There's so many natural ways to get out of the fear, to meditate, and remember who we truly are. To know thyself, to love thyself, and then to become the ripple of that energy of love for this world, for this planet. Thank you. So I'm going to take an offering for Unity now. And with that said, I want to let you know there's a way to help Unity budget better. This last month we were down $21,000, which the church cannot stay functioning if that happens for a few months. If this center is growing your life and touching your life, there's a wonderful way to consider helping us by doing a recurring donation, so when you don't come, You can do a monthly donation to Unity, and you can just sign up on it at unityofboulder.com at the bottom of the page. You can do a one-time, or you can do it every week, or you can do it every other week, but then we can consistently have a budget to work in, and can we keep everybody employed, and all the things that you have to consider when it comes to tithing. And it's so wonderful to see you guys here. I'm almost done. And then those of you that are joining us on live stream, you can do the same thing, or you can tithe. You can text to give to 720-710-5101, and we're going to do physical offering in here. And always you can go to unityofboulder.com, go to the bottom of the homepage and just hit the donate button. And all of those ways support this community. And so we're so very grateful, and we receive in love, and we aren't in fear. We know this place has always been taken care of by God, it's served by God, and everything is okay. So don't be in fear. Don't let that be a stress. So let's take our offerings in our hands and bless it with this offering statement. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive because I give. Thank you. And now we have a wonderful opportunity to listen to Todd Bethune do a solo with our band.
Yes, please welcome to the stage Todd Bethune. Todd is celebrating 1 year performing at the 11 a.m. Spiritual Experience service at Unity of Boulder. Todd is a lifelong student of music and keeps himself very busy performing, teaching, and collaborating musically in many various recording projects in world and popular genres. Todd has been recognized through the readership of Great Lakes Review magazine as a standout guitar performer with awards including Jazz Artist of the Year and various accolades with his original progressive rock group Classic Graffiti, and the Django Reinhardt-inspired Jim Pagel Gypsy Jazz Trio. Todd has also performed with the Kevin Cole Jazz Orchestra, Brian Rombalski's Zen Ensemble, the Jim Pagel Gypsy Jazz Trio, Robin Nolan of the Netherlands, Yosho, Stefan of Germany, and award-winning New Thought artist Faith Rivera. Please welcome back to the stage our favorite, Todd Bethune.
Thank you. Yeah. So many fun memories wrapped up in all that. I want to really thank the band real quick. We're going to perform Pat Metheny piece, Better Days Ahead. Pat Metheny, Lyle Mays, the songwriting duo. Outside of John Lennon and Paul McCartney, probably 20th century music just recognizes just fantastic music. The band took the opportunity to learn this song with me, and we're going to have some fun with this. One thing that came to mind, Lyle Mays passed last year, and they gave him a cover of Downbeat magazine this month with a quote that really got me was, everything is composition. And I saw that headline, or the byline in that, and it really kind of gripped me. Everything is composition. And Joel and I actually had a fun little conversation about that last week. Being musicians, we deal a lot with chords and harmonies, and that leads to consonant harmonies that make chords sound nice and pleasing to your ear. And then you have dissonant harmonies that sound unresolved and can bring tension and just kind of make you feel those things. And in the spirit and tradition of Lyle Mays, who is a brilliant genius in my opinion, it makes me think, how do I live my life? Am I putting that energy into those consonant harmonies? Am I finding ways to breathe into those dissonant harmonies? Everything is composition. So on that note, we're going to play this Better Days Ahead, and Louis is going to give me a little Brazilian beat. Feel free to clap along and have some fun with this one.
concludes our service, and we're going to lead the service with this awesome music playing. So we have fellowship in the fellowship hall with food and coffee on this side after the service. And we have prayer partners available. If you guys would stand up, if you have a prayer need today, you can stay seated in your seat, and they'll come and find you and take you to our beautiful meditation room and meditate with you. I'm going to let you know that we moved the Sunday school up into the fellowship hall area for this year, just so that we can have good circulation of air for the children. And also remind you that we're doing the ultraviolet lights, cleansing that room completely, so it's ready for the children to have a wonderful time. And we might hear them making a joyful noise during the service, but that's well and good. We just want everybody to be healthy and to be coming back in person. And we thank you for being here. Namaste.
Thanks so much.